Alright, welcome back, guys. Here is video number 2 in this little series. We're going to tear down the front part of this Rovan today and further assess our damages after our little crash here a few weeks back. So, without further ado, we will get after it. So, pardon me if I run out of things to talk about. Can't say I'm always that much of a conversationalist. So, those of you that might be curious that haven't watched RC Sparks, these little guys here that fit right into your deal. You can get these off of DDM or Dave's Discount Motors, DDM.com. They work pretty nice. Fit right in there and makes things for a lot better. A lot easier to take everything out when you got a little bit of power to go with them. Now I'm just kind of setting stuff back here in a little bit of a pattern so I don't forget exactly where everything goes. Because, well, I am getting a little bit older and it tends to happen sometimes. Alright, and there we've got the steering stiffener, which they do make this in aluminum. It looks kind of nice. Is it necessary? I don't know. That's up to you to decide. It does kind of stiffen things up, I guess, but I don't necessarily think it's necessary. But that's me. We got a little spacer, it would appear, that was sitting back in there. So we'll set that there so we remember how it went. Now, let's see here. We'll take these off. If you're curious, this little guy here is just a little Menard special, which is I guess it's similar to like a Home Depot or a Lowe's, but it's more towards like the Chinese-made stuff. Master Force, yeah, they work pretty good. You get this and a drill, a couple batteries and a charger for it was like 80 bucks or something like that. So you really can't beat it. Let you know if it's dead or not. It's even got a little light on there. So, yeah, not bad. For the price, they're well worth the money. Okay, get some stuff out of the way. There we go. Alright. Alright, let's see here. I do believe I'm ready to flip this thing over. Get a little better stand for doing this, but this is okay for now. They make a pretty cool one. If you guys haven't seen it already, it's a little pricey though. Someday. I do believe we have got this sucker ready to come out. Yes. Alright. And there we have the entire front section has come off. Get dirt out of the way here. Let's see if I got a flashlight close by. So don't go away, I'll be right back. Alright, I found a flashlight. This will most likely be edited out, but just in case it's not. I'm going to look inside these holes here and see what the damages are. These holes here, because there's the ones that it appeared that everything pulled out. The back ones, the threads are good. They're still in there. They appear okay. The front ones, huh. I don't see any threads in there at all. It doesn't appear that they ever pulled out either. Which makes me wonder if they were ever threaded in all the way. I don't know if you can see in there. I'll try to get this up close, but maybe better without the flashlight. I don't know. Can't really see in there, but either way, it does not appear as though those were ever really threaded in there. Or maybe it's just the molding. Maybe it is just a, you know, it is a knockoff, so maybe they just didn't have very good quality control there. That's a good possibility. So let's see what happens here if we run this in and thread that in. Yes, this is an impact driver. If you keep hammering on it, yeah, you'll destroy things. But if you just go them in to where it hammers once or twice, you're not going to hurt anything. So running that all the way in, it didn't hurt a thing. But it did leave threads. So it would appear as though they just weren't, they just were never put in all the way from the factory. It's a good possibility. Very good possibility. Yeah, that one left threads in there too. So yeah, just a little quality control is all that ended up here. So yeah, those bolts just, they backed out. I'm guessing that they were only in there maybe a 1/4 inch. So they're a little short. Not a real big deal. So yeah. So when it comes right down to it, the damage is really not too bad. A little bit, not quite what I expected. Get a little closer look here. Is, you know, they got a nice little boot on here. Keeps dirt and everything out, so you can actually grease that. You can grease that joint in there, which is pretty nice. You know, for, you know, the off-brand or whatever you want to call it. Set this down here. We'll get into the diff a little bit later. For right now, we'll get into looking at this chassis here to see what it's going to take to fix it. Set this up here. Okay. So if I can keep this where you guys can see. Set it down here. There we go. Alrighty. I'm going to go ahead and pop these out real quick. If I get the right size, I will. There we go. And the way I got it torn apart here, you gotta be a little bit careful because this takes off all the steering components up here. Your Ackerman arm steering. Oops, what am I doing there? the steering is loose. What that does, it pulls your rods out of there. Go ahead and check them now and clean them up while we're at it. It appears that one of the bearings is a little rusty. No, just its color. That one's alright, just colored. Still needs to be cleaned up a little bit. Set those there. This one's got both bearings in it. Yeah. Alright, so I'm just going to leave that there. I'll pull this last one out if I didn't mess it up too bad. I think I might have. I'll just strip it. Oh, there we go. And normally these don't fall out if you have them in like a regular drill driver. I know like Snap-on makes them and stuff. These are more for the defined ball end to grab on. So these, I don't know if you can see it or not. These have a little bit of an indent here, not quite as much as what the actual impact drivers themselves would take, but it still holds it for the most part. And I do have this little guy here if I really wanted to use it. So don't let that steer you away from shopping DDM if you wanted. Because those are pretty nice. That's the only place I've found that sells those that actually fit the drivers and are small enough to work on RCs. So this, anyway, this one, as you can see, it's a little bent. Not too bad. It's reusable. So I'm just going to massage it back into place a little bit here. And I'm not going to use heat on any of this. Reason being, is if I use heat, it will, once it cools, it will actually harden the aluminum, which sure sounds great, but then it makes it brittle. Once it's brittle, it's not much I can do with it. I don't have any kind of a controlled environment to do it properly if I was going to do it anyhow. I mean, yeah, I've got torches and welders and all that good stuff, but to do it properly so I don't ruin the piece of metal that I'm working with, I'm just going to simply just work it slowly and get it back into shape, especially with the chassis, because that one I know for a fact will get brittle and it'll just crack if you put any kind of heat to it. And this is going back pretty nicely. Right in here is where the bend is. This here actually goes with the shape of the chassis. So we just want this to get flat again, and it's pretty close, not too far off. Got just a little bit more to go. I'm not going to beat on it with a hammer or anything because that messes with the integrity as well. If it was steel, it'd be a little different story, doing body work. You'd use a shrinking hammer or something on it, but not this one because it's aluminum. Aluminum reacts a little bit differently. And I'm not a body expert either, so don't take my word for anything. I just going off of my experience working with aluminum. You don't want to do that. So just about got her in place. Looking pretty good. Just a little bit more here and I think we'll have it. I've gone too far there. I did. That's alright. So there, it's pretty well back in place. I went a little bit too far. It's really, I don't think it's going to hurt a whole lot. Just give it a little bit of spring. It'll actually suck it down tighter, I think. So we're going to set that aside before I destroy it. Now we're going to try to do basically the same thing with the chassis. Pull this steering arm out of the way first. That size here. Wrong one. And these, you can get these, this one's Matco. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's a Matco. I mean, they make them at other places. I think Walmart has a decent little Stanley set that's not too far off from these. I'm going to say they're like 20 bucks. I mean, they don't give you everything. They do work pretty good. You know, if you're on a budget. Me in the line of work I'm in, I'm buying stuff off the tool trucks all the time because, well, I need it and it's convenient. Go ahead, stick this one back in here so I don't lose it. And for those of you that have not seen like the Ackerman type steering, this one, and if you want to know more in depth on how these work, Google it. It's kind of neat. As it steers, your tires will steer more on one side than they will the other. And that helps on off-road racing, that kind of stuff. It's more of a performance. Kind of neat. Pretty good write-up and stuff on there. If you ever want to check it out, give you a little more understanding how the steering actually works. So anyhow, moving on from that, here, if you can see, not too bad, but right in here is where the damage is. And we're just going to massage this back in place a little bit. And try not to bend it too much the opposite direction. It really isn't bad. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set her down here. I'm just going to pull up a little bit while I push down. I'm just feeling it right now. It feels pretty good. So. Still off a little. Might actually have to grab a pair of pliers and do this one because of where it's at. It'd actually be better if I was to tear this whole thing down and do it with everything off the chassis, but I don't feel like going that far with it, so I'm just going to kind of set this up here on the workbench, hopefully where you can see it. And right about here is where my bend is, so that's roughly where I'm going to put the edge of my table. You can do this in a vise or whatever, but I don't have a vise on this table. I'm just going to kind of massage it a little bit here. I'm not going to go crazy. I really don't want to bend it right here because this is not where it's bent. It's bent up here between these two. And I don't want to bend it here. It's not too bad. Still could use a little more. I think most of it will probably straighten back out once I get once I got to put everything back together. So now I'm just gonna press it a little bit more here and check it out. So I can go a little more. See what I do with my channel locks here. Got a lot more tools in the garage, but it's hot out there today. So I didn't feel like working in the garage. So I came inside. And we're working in the house. Need some cheapies here. They should do the trick. Right about there. That's coming along. That's coming along just like I like. You don't want to go overboard. If you bend it too far, then you're going to start stretching the metal, making it weaker. all that good stuff. And you don't want to do that. So if I get this in here and do it a little bit crooked. Little bits at a time. And it's coming along. Slowly but surely, it's coming along. And we'll have it shortly. I'll move it out to the edge just a little bit. Just get a little bit more leverage here. Let's see if I can get that to go where I want it. It's not looking too bad. Let's see if I can get this up here for you. So you can see. Try this way. Get out of the camera here. Kind of hard to see. It's a lot straighter than what it was when we started. So, I think this plate was well worth it. If you guys never do get one of these, I highly suggest getting one of these just because of where it stiffens. And you get it on there and it thickens this whole area up. It's off a little bit, pretty good gap here, but I think it'll be alright. Let's see. Get the screws and everything back in there. I think it should be fine. And most of it's because this piece I bent a little bit too much. I'll go back a little, back it off a little here. I won't go too much because, like I said, it'll start stretching and weakening the metal even more than what it is now. And really, we just kind of want to preserve this chassis as long as we can. They're not overly expensive if you just go with a replacement chassis. You can get them off of Dollar Hobbies. I think they do teardowns. You can get a chassis for about $100, I think. But still, who wants to spend $100 when you can just fix the one you got? And me, I'm a fixer. You know, I'm a diesel mechanic for a living. I work on all the big stuff. I don't like replacing parts. I like to get inside and fix them. A lot of the customers appreciate that too. If you can fix it faster than you can order a part and get them back on the road. Sometimes it costs them a little more money because it takes a little bit more time, other than the waiting game for, you know, ordering parts, but there's a little more labor involved in, you know, rebuilding a starter right there sometimes than it is to just throw a new one in. If you don't, you can throw a new one in just an hour or so, or, you know, it might take you 2 hours to rebuild one. They can get back on the road that day and get their delivery where it goes. A lot of times it's worth it to them. So we are looking good here. Still got about 3/16 of a gap just by eyeballing it, which is a little bit of a combination of the two being bent in opposite directions, but I have a straight edge in here. I would look at it, and that's not too bad. Chassis is still tweaked a little bit, and I do want to get the chassis as straight as possible so it doesn't mess with the steering. But as of right now, it still isn't too bad. I'll go ahead and grab it up top here a little bit again, and get a little more leverage on it. Kind of here in the middle. But I really don't want to change this angle here, because then your diff doesn't necessarily fit quite right if that angle gets changed. It's looking pretty good on this side. This side over here where it's thicker, it's thicker right here. It's a little more of a challenge to get to shape back. But it is working its way there. Shut up here. And each time when I'm pushing down roughly right at where the bend is at. Like I said, it's bent above the mounting holes, or forward this way. So it's actually here, your mounting holes are here, and it's actually bent here. So what I'm trying to do is when I put my hand there, I'm trying to put my pressure right on that bend and forcing everything to go right there at that bend. Because I don't want it to bend back here, because then that throws everything else off. You know, things just don't line up. So you gotta be careful with it. If you've never done this kind of thing before, which I do it on, you know, bigger things a lot more often than I do, you know, fifth scale or C-cars, but so it takes a little practice to get it right. And it's never going to be perfect. So if you're a perfectionist, you got to realize that if you bend something like this, it'll never be perfect again, per se, but it'll work. And it'll work every bit as good as it did before. It just, you know, it just won't be, you know, 100%. It'll be 99.5 or something. Back to good. So that's one thing you got to learn in this hobby too, is how to fix things. So if you're not handy with stuff, you need to learn. Okay, using an old DV camera, so ran out of tape there, so pardon for the goofy pause. I don't know if it'll get edited out right or not, but either way. So I don't remember exactly what I was saying. I think something about learning how to work on things, which is definitely necessary if you get into this hobby, especially the big ones. But anyway, I got this back down to, I don't know if you guys can see this, but I've got them straightened out to where I've got both plates on there now. Right where my thumb is, it's about the only gap. And it is roughly a 1/16 of a gap. I am happy with that. I do believe that we will be just fine. So there's that there. I'm gonna see how this sets down in there. I'm not gonna worry about hooking anything up at the moment. I'm gonna set this in here and check my gap right quick. And that will probably conclude this segment. Oh yeah, that looks much better. I'll try to get this in here. Compared to what it looked like before. Doing this all one-handed. There's no more gap. So it all fits really nice and well, and I'm looking right up in here. The camera's not necessarily picking it up real well, but it fits down in there real good. I'm really happy with that. Really, you're not going to even notice it. It will perform just as good as it did the day it was new. So, at this point, that is repair of the chassis. I'm not going to go any further on this segment. The next one, I will go ahead and I'm going to tear down the front differential so we can see what's in it. And if need be, I'll do the back one too, but I'm only going to do one on camera, I think, because this stuff does kind of tend to get boring to watch. I know. And then listen to some guy sit there and talk about random things. Yeah, it gets boring. But if you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave comments down in the comment section. Thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. But yeah, if you guys do have any questions, go ahead and leave some comments, and we'll do the best we can to answer them. As far as the RC hobby goes, you got to remember, we are not professionals. We're just hobbyists, just like you and everybody else. But just a couple guys enjoying the hobby, things that we've picked up over the years and learned. So we're not, like I said, we're not professionals. We just know, we know what works for us, what doesn't work for us. If we can help you out in any kind of way, hey, great. We're more than happy to help you out and get you into the hobby. And how to fix stuff. I fix, like I said, I fix the big stuff. If you guys saw a little video a while back, you saw that old Ram Charger. I restored that one. So I know a few things. So go ahead, give us a holler if you got any questions, and we'll go from there. But that's going to conclude this segment. So get out there and have some fun. Enjoy the hobby. And how are you going to RC today?